The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. These Best You EXPO talks are recorded in front of a live audience in a live event. We highly recommend that you focus on the message. As they say, what you focus on expands. Enjoy. Dr. Barbra DeAngelis. Dr. Barbra is one of the most influential teachers of our time in the field of personal and spiritual development. For the past 35 years, she's reached tens of millions of people throughout the world with her inspirational messages about how to create a true life of freedom, mastery, and awakening. I was honored to have Dr. Barbra speaking at her first expo in London, and she basically walks the talk. She is just such a beautiful soul. She's a lovely lady. She's just a beautiful, beautiful soul. So obviously she has a massive following all over the world. She's been on all the stages. She shared the stages with everyone, and she's been on all the TV shows, Oprah, you name it. So to have her speak, as I said, at the first expo was a great honor. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this fantastic talk. Thank you. Dr. Barbra DeAngelis' talk is called Soul Shifts, Transforming Yourself from the Inside Out. Enjoy.
She's come all the way from America to spend time with you. Dr. Barbra DeAngelis is one of the most influential teachers in the field of personal and spiritual development. She's also good at talking over a disco behind us. For the past 35 years, she's reached literally millions of people all over the world with her positive messages of how to create a life of true freedom and awakening. She's got sold out seminars, books, TV, radio shows, speakers, trainings. Her programs are downloaded all over the world. CEOs seek her out. Superstars come to her beck and call. 15 best-selling books, ladies and gentlemen, published in 25 languages. She's been number one on the New York Times bestseller list no fewer than 8 times for different books. She's recently won the prestigious Toastmasters International Golden Gavel, marking her as only one of 5 women ever to win it. This is her first time in the UK. I've just seen her backstage. She's very excited to be here, and she's got so much to share with you to help you have more powerful lives and have some really powerful soul shifts. Ladies and gentlemen, give a beautiful, bright London welcome to the gorgeous Barbra DeAngelis.
Thank you, my sweetheart. Good morning. I am so excited to be here in the UK. Isn't this the experience you have every day of trying to hear your own thoughts, but then there's strange voices in your head talking all the time? So I apologize. This is a unique experience for me. I thought, this is the background noise that we all have to get over. I am so thrilled to be here. Welcome, great seekers. Welcome, great transformers. Welcome, soul shifters from the UK, from Europe. You made an amazing decision, an amazing commitment to be here today. And I am really honored to be in your presence, to actually be here connecting and bringing all the things that I do to so many people here to the UK for the very first time, at least in person. I know there's people here who I've met before and who've come to America to study with me. So I'm so thrilled that you made the choice to be here. I know some of you listen to me in my radio show. Some of you have been posting to me on Facebook. Where's my Facebook people? Yay, you're in the front. Fantastic. Oh, there's Selena. I know your names. So I'm really thrilled that you're here, and you may not know it, but you made an amazing choice in deciding to come and actually be here. Not just as this arena, but to be here in this room at this time, to keep an appointment with yourself and to keep an appointment with me, and to keep an appointment with your highest, with a part of you that perhaps you're not even as intimate with as you should be yet, and hopefully will be. Out of all the people on this planet, there's 7 billion people on this planet. Out of all those people, you're in this space, you're in this room, you're in this choice for yourself to grow more, to feel more, to be more free. And out of everyone, you heard a voice that said, come and do this. Every day, and it's so perfect that we're hearing all these voices. I've actually never spoken before with noise like this. This is why it's good to learn to be a professional speaker, because anything can happen. Once, we have, see this? This is the microphone pack. Once I was on stage, usually speak to thousands of people, and my skirt didn't have very strong elastic, so the pack started getting heavier and heavier. And as I was standing there in front of thousands of people filming it, my skirt started going down my hips until I was standing like this giving a speech. So I'm sharing this since we're in such an intimate room right now. You never know what's going to happen, and that's exactly how life is, isn't it? We have great intentions. We wake up each day with our goals, with our plans for ourselves, with our commitment. I'm going to think wonderfully and eat wonderfully, and I'm going to be at my highest. And then life happens. It could be the person you're sleeping next to. It could be what happens when you walk out of your flat. It could be whatever it is that you experience. It's always a journey. There's always that background noise. But you've made a choice to listen to the voice that said, it is time for me to experience more, to be more free in my life. So I honor you for being here. I honor you for making the choice, or for going along with your friend who told you to come. Whether you decided to be here consciously or not, you had an appointment to be. So thank you for keeping that appointment. I came all the way from California to keep my appointment with all of you. Luckily brought some sun for 4 days. You're welcome. And I am so thrilled that we have this time together so I can help you make some shifts. In my book, I'm going to read you a quote from my book. If you can't quote your own books, you shouldn't write them. I always tell people, I'll say, listen to this fantastic quote, and people used to look at me in a strange way. I'd say, but if I don't think it's fantastic, why am I asking people to buy it? This is about you. And it says, our responsibility as conscious beings, sincere seekers, and planetary transformers is to rebirth ourselves over and over again. Our responsibility. Not, I think I should grow, I think I should be better, but our responsibility. Isn't that a great understanding? Because as we look out at the world and want to shift it, we have to, we must, and in fact the only thing we can actually control is the universe that you're sitting in right now. I want you to take a moment and contemplate something. Think about all the things you've done in your life that have focused on growth. Every book you've read, every prayer you've made, every meditation you've had, every seminar you've taken, every training, every CD you listen to, all the things you've done, every moment in therapy or 12-step program or anything else you've done, every intense conversation with a friend, everything you've written in a journal. And think of all of that and the journey that you've already had so far. You may think, I've traveled far to see you. You've traveled very far to be sitting here right in this room, haven't you? For a long time in your life. Now know that every other person in this room has a similar journey. They've had their own years and years of seeking or thinking or going deep or hurting or pain or betrayal or healing or rebirthing. Everybody in here. So just think about the amount of commitment just here with those few hundred of us. And you realize that it is an honor to be in each other's presence. Most people on the planet will never wake up while they are alive. How many of you know people who should come to something like this and absolutely would not? And don't look to the person next to you either. How many of you know people who really need to grow and don't even know it? They don't know it. And everyone else around them knows it. You made a choice to be conscious. Today, you made a choice to sit here today. You made a choice to come to what may appear to be some big, cavernous, noisy exposition hall. But the truth is, you made a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage we think of many times as something where you're going to Stonehenge, or you're going to a sacred site, or you're going to India, or some place where you're hoping on that pilgrimage you're going to be transformed, right? Or you're going to a cathedral. You're hoping that when you come back, you will not be the same. If you've ever taken a pilgrimage of any sort, you're hoping that there's something that you're carrying that you'll leave there. Something you don't need, something that's not serving you, and that you'll have something else with you when you return. You will be different. This, even though it doesn't look like it, is a pilgrimage. In the midst of the crazy, noisy, frightening world, more frightening every year, it is essential for you to make your own pilgrimages. And the pilgrimages are not about an outside place. They're about the place inside. The destination of any pilgrimage is you, right? Even if you go to a sacred spot. How many of you have ever done something that was a spiritual quest or retreat of any kind? So you know that the whole point is not to see something or to see a beautiful forest or to see a beautiful monument, but the real purpose of any pilgrimage is to see yourself, correct? The destination is you. The destination of all of our seeking is actually you. So, believe it or not, you are on a pilgrimage. This is our sacred sanctuary for this time that we have. And again, another reason to be honored to be in each other's presence. And you're not here to see me or anyone else. You're here to see yourself more clearly, with more commitment, with more understanding, with more compassion, and with more love. Once you made a promise. You may not remember that promise, but I know you made it because you're sitting here. You promised to wake up in this lifetime. You promised to not sleepwalk your way through things. You promised, no matter what happened to you, to not let go of a vision of something. You promised to be one of the people who was awakening on the planet. It doesn't matter if you're teaching or you're lecturing to people. It doesn't matter if you even talk about it. Your own wakefulness, your own consciousness, your own shifting vibrationally blesses other people, just as you walk through the world. So you may think you came here for yourself, but you are an ambassador right now, sitting here. You're an ambassador for your friends, for your family, for strangers, for the country in which you live. You're an ambassador of consciousness, just vibrating, learning to vibrate with a higher consciousness, will and does and must make a difference on the planet. Once you made a promise, and I know that because you're here, to be here on this planet when the great shift was trying to happen, to do the great work. If you're sitting here, it means you signed up to wake up. How many of you just, when you hear that, it resonates with something inside of you? You signed up to wake up. What does that mean? How are you supposed to do it? That's what we're talking about. But something said, I am not going to go through this life unconscious. And I call this the cosmic alarm clock. Your cosmic alarm clock went off. You know, when you're sleeping and you set your alarm, it's because you know that sleep itself is so seductive, isn't it? That unless you set the alarm, you might not wake up, especially in a cold winter morning when it's still dark outside. So the alarm is supposed to help you wake up and do what you're supposed to do. What is the cosmic alarm clock? It's something inside of you on a soul level that wakes you up, that suddenly goes off and says, it's time for what? It just says, it's time. It just says now. It just says, look around. It says, start reaching out. You don't get a map with the cosmic alarm clock, do you? Something just shifts inside of you. You're here because your cosmic alarm clock went off and you did not push the snooze button, which many people do their entire life. They start to see something or feel something or understand something, and they say, you know, that's it. You know, going to the pub for 3 days. I'm not going to pay attention to that. But you're here because you listened. You did not push that snooze button. You actually kept your appointment in this life with your own process of awakening, whether you understand that or not. And everyone sitting in this room has also been keeping their promise. Even when they have been pushed down, even when it has hurt to see things rather than to not see them, hurt to feel things rather than to shut off, they kept moving, growing, opening over and over again. Everyone in here. So I want to say to all of you, thank you for keeping your promise. Thank you for keeping your promise. And I want to invite you to do something that will shift you if you do it correctly. I'm going to ask you to turn to two people, somebody next to you or behind you, and you don't know them. They're just sitting in here. They may look like somebody you would or wouldn't talk to. You have no idea who this person is or what their path has been. But I can tell you it's someone who's been keeping their promise, which is more than we can say for a lot of people on the planet. So really, with sincerity, as if you knew you're in a room of great saints, great awakeners, great masters, great courageous seekers, with reverence, turn to somebody next to you and behind you and just look at them for a moment and say, thank you for keeping your promise. And don't just say it, don't do this. Thank you for keeping your promise. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. Really say it till they feel it. And they'll say it back to you, and you want to do this with 2 or 3 people. Really look and see and understand that person has been on a path, and they have made that promise like you have over and over and renewed it over and over again, right? Just like you've had to. Just like you did to think, should I go to this? Should I not? You made a choice. They have made the same kind of choices in their life that you've been making. You have not been alone on your path. So take a moment, think about what you're really saying to this fellow soul. And with as much energy as you can and respect, just say, thank you for keeping your promise. And they'll say it back, and take it in. Don't go, oh, no, you should have seen me last Friday night. No, just thank you for keeping your promise. Do it with a few people. See how it feels. All right? Enjoy. Go ahead. Doesn't that feel good? Give yourselves a hand. Thank you for keeping your promise. Now more than ever, each of us needs to keep that promise. Now more than ever before in your life, your own awakening is essential. Now more than ever when we are in a battle on this planet between light and dark. You know that, correct? You can see it. Now more than ever, your choices make a huge difference. And I don't mean only your outer choices, I mean your own inner choices. Are you going to live with consciousness or not? Are you going to live with openness or not? Are you going to pay attention or not? Are you going to live a life awake and present or not? You may think, well, it doesn't make a difference to other people what I choose. It makes a difference to everybody, because you are always making a difference vibrationally. Now more than ever is a theme I've been talking about for the last few years, and specifically and especially since the fall, since all of the attacks that happened in Paris. Now more than ever, when we say, what can I do about what is happening in the world, we start with our own planet, and we make sure that it is the kind of planet that we would want to invite people to live on. And again, this is why I honor you. And I begin with honoring you for that choice. The great spiritual teacher Ramana Maharshi once said, your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render the world. One of the things I want to offer you is the understanding, and I've written about this in Soul Shifts, as those of you who've read it know, is there's not a disconnection between how you're living, what you're doing, what you're thinking, and what's happening on the planet. There's not a disconnection between your own inner battles and the outer battles that we see. Your own inner wars between the part of you that knows what you should do and the part of you that says forget it. The part of you that wants to offer love, the part of you wants to shut off. The part of you that wants to take the high road, the part of you that says that's too hard. Who cares? No one's going to notice. Those battles within us are happening all the time. The battle between our own light and our own dark, right? Our own vision and our own not wanting to see. I believe, in fact, I know that when you triumph, each moment of triumph in your own battles contributes something to the profound awakening of the planet. When I began my own growth back in the 1960s, before many of you were born, I'm going to be 65 in a few days, so I made it this far. But when you can clap for that, yes, thank you. There was no personal growth. Personal growth was a psychiatrist. That's what it was. There were no seminars. There was no Best You magazine. There was no Best You EXPO. There was nothing at all. There was just a lot of people trying to wake up, trying to figure out what to do. Maybe some of them were your parents, trying to find answers without really understanding anything, and not knowing if they were the only ones who were feeling that way. We are so privileged that now we can gather together with other seekers. We can be with other people. We're so privileged about that. And that's why I say you need to honor yourself when your cosmic alarm clock has gone off. Something profound happens in you. There's great ancient scriptures from India that were written thousands of years ago. And they say when a person starts having thoughts of awakening means you have a thought, maybe I should go to a yoga class. Maybe I should eat better. I wonder if I should work on myself. It looks like a random thought. Or you happen to bump into somebody who tells you about something. This particular scripture says these are not random events. Something miraculous has taken place inside of you. There's an inner awakening that's already happening. That's why you're having those thoughts in the first place. This is a profound thing to really think about it. This is something from Soul Shifts. I want to read you this quote. The fact that you're seeking means you've already found something. Your seeking is your inner awakening in action. Think about that. Isn't that beautiful? Your seeking is your inner awakening. Something's already waking up, and everything that follows it is just what you're doing to try to connect yourself back home to your own wholeness. And when that happens, random things that aren't random will begin to happen to you. You happen to turn something on and hear it. You happen to pick up a book. A friend happens to tell you about something. You happen to meet somebody into certain things. These are not random encounters. They are appointments. They're appointments. The universe is lining up when your alarm clock goes off to say, okay, and suddenly help is there, support is there. This is what teachers are for. Teachers, I always say, stand at the bridge when people are ready to cross over into more wholeness. And the job of a teacher, my job as a spiritual teacher, is to tune in to be at the right place at the right time, whether it's for 200 people, whether it's for 20,000 people, so that when in a moment of your soul journey, you're wanting more, I'm there to, in a sense, offer. It's like when you go to one of the wonderful museums here in London, the best in the world, and they hand you some kind of pamphlet, when you go in, because there's so much there. You could get totally lost, right? Totally overstimulated, and just leave and think it's too much. There's nothing here. I don't even know what people are talking about. It was just too crazy. But it's not. It's all mapped out. So teachers are supposed to give you maps. Maps, where did they get them? They've created them. They've lived them. They've taken those journeys. So it's kind of like all of us are in a museum of transformation. We can wander around, or we can get a map that helps us know where to go, what rooms to go to, what rooms to avoid, what exits to not go into, what places we can get stuck. That's really what it's about. And this is why we celebrate the experience of actually seeking. And this is one of the first soul shifts I want to give you. No matter what's happening to you in your life right now, no matter what's happening, whether it's a good time, a bad time, a difficult time, a time where there's been a lot of breakthroughs, a time where there's more questions than answers. No matter what you think is going on in your life right now, you should celebrate the fact that you are waking up. Thank God I'm waking up. Just think that to yourself for a moment. Thank God I'm waking up. Thank God I'm more awake than I was 10 years ago. Thank God I can see the things that were not good for me. Thank God I've had the courage and the guts to begin to look at myself. Thank God. Your choice for awakening is the most important soul shift you could ever have. Because that turning point, when you begin on a path of consciousness, is something that is priceless. That's the hardest part is over when you've done that. So some of you need to really get it. The hardest part is over. You decided to wake up. You knew you had an appointment for remembrance and you kept it. The hardest part truly is over. Because the truth is, when people are unconscious, do they know they're unconscious? No. Do you know somebody who thinks they're completely fine and you think they're completely unconscious? Of course you do. I love when people instantly think of someone and we hope no one's being asked this question in another room and they're thinking of you. When we're asleep, last night you all slept. You don't know you're sleeping when you're sleeping. You know you were asleep when? The moment you wake up, right? And when you wake up, you go, oh my God, well, I was out of it. I didn't really sleep deeper. Oh my gosh, I slept longer than I should have. Or wow, I fell asleep with my iPad hitting my head, or whatever it is. When we are asleep, we don't know it. So get what I'm saying to you. If you have been this month, last month, this year, last year, seeing ways you were unconscious, seeing ways you've been asleep, seeing things you want to change, what does that mean? It means you are up, you see? You are awake. You're realizing you were asleep. Now there's a lot of debris to clean up. Now there's a lot of integration to do. But the hardest part is over. You did not push that snooze button. And I want you to really take a moment and honor yourself. If nothing else you get out of this is to really get that soul shift. The fact that I am seeking means something essential has happened for me in my life. This is really really beautiful. And do not disqualify yourself for the things that have happened to you in your life. We're going to talk about this a little more, and also after our break. One of the big mistakes we make as seekers is we say, well, how can I really be growing or becoming more conscious? Because, and then we have a list of things we've done. I did this, I was an addict, I had a divorce, I got pregnant, whatever it is. Do not disqualify yourself because of what's happened to you. The things that have happened to you are experiences. They are not who you are as a soul. They are the swimming pool you were in, but then you got out of the pool and you got into another pool. It's so important for some of us to stop trying to move forwards while we're looking backwards, right? We're saying, I want to grow, or I want to start a business, or I want to whatever it is, but we're looking backwards the whole time, staring at our history, disqualifying ourselves over and over in your mind. Guess what? The things you think disqualify you, qualify you. The things you think limit you are the things that have made you who you are, that have polished you, that have made you wise. How many of you, because of stuff that's happened to you, have turned towards more soul searching and awakening? Raise your hands. Look around the room for a minute and see how many people's hands are up. So were these things that disqualified you, or were they cosmic kicks in the butt to get you to wake up? Some of you need to reframe some things you're still feeling bad about, or guilty about, or blaming yourself for, or still looking at and identifying with your history or your family history, and realize that was your journey that got you to where you are. But those things don't disqualify you. They polish you. They inform you. They actually direct you. And some of those things are things that I call being shaken awake. We were talking about your cosmic alarm clock. Any of you have kids? Some of you used to be a child? All right. When, if you have a kid or you remember yourself, if your 5-year-old, 6-year-old is sleeping soundly and you're trying to wake them up, they're like a dead person, basically, aren't they? They're just there, and you're going, time to get up. They're not hearing you. You can, tap them a little bit, they're not hearing you. Sometimes if somebody's really in a deep sleep, you have to actually shake them and go, come on, wake up. The universe is deeply committed to your awakening. Sometimes, if you have been very asleep, you may have been shaken awake. How many of you just hearing this go, oh my God, I have been shaken awake? What shakes us awake? A trauma, a loss, a betrayal, a bankruptcy, an illness, losing someone we love, a crisis, seeing something happening on the news. Shaken awake. How many of you have been shaken awake in the last year in some way? Raise your hands. And again, almost everyone's hand is up. So you think you've had, I've had a bad year. No, you've had what I call a shake and bake year. Do they have shake and bake here in this country? Shake and bake is, what is it? How do I describe what it is? It's some kind of pouch in America that you put chicken into, and like a piece of chicken, and there's crumbs and stuff, and you shake it all up. The crumbs get on the chicken, and you stick it in the oven. Typically American, instant shake and bake. And when I grew up especially, people would say, I want to shake and bake. And last year I started thinking about the path of personal growth and realizing it's actually a shake and bake, isn't it? Something shakes you, and then you have to bake through the process. You have to bake in the heat of looking at something or dealing with something or healing something. That's what it means to be shaken awake. We are in a time of tremendous spiritual acceleration on the planet. It's not just a time of horrible battles, but it's a time of tremendous acceleration of consciousness. And you may be experiencing with it what I call the divine discomfort The divine, who just hearing it goes, I have divine discomfort. Anyone just feel it? Divine discomfort. It's a symptom of going fast on your personal journey. One of the things I do as a teacher is help articulate what people experience in their own process of growth. So many times, the very things you think mean you're messed up are symptoms of awakening. Symptoms of awakening. And how many times, thousands of times in my life, people will write me an email. They'll post on Facebook. They'll hear me do an audio presentation from somewhere in the world, and they'll write and say, thank you. They'll read soul shifts. I thought I was crazy. Now I realize I'm just experiencing what I call a lot of spiritual velocity. Spiritual velocity. The divine discomfort. Here are some symptoms. See if you can relate to this. No matter what you're accomplishing, it feels like something's missing and it's not quite enough. Like there's something you're supposed to do. Who has ever had that? You've achieved some of the things you want, you've gained some of the things you want, and yet there's this feeling of doubt, like, was this what I was supposed to do? Maybe I should change. Maybe it should be something else. Who's ever had that? You realize that most people, if I went to another room now, would not raise their hands, all right? A feeling of restlessness with no cause, just an agitation. Things look okay in your life, they could be better, but there's some feeling of restlessness, of an inner turmoil that you can't place. Who's had this? Look around, everyone's hands are up. An unsettledness, a feeling you can't quite get your bearings. You know where you are, you know what you're doing, you have some of the things you wanted on your list, maybe you have a family, a job, but it feels like you have spiritual vertigo, like you're not, like jet lag, you're not quite clear about things, and yet it all on paper looks good. Who's had this? My dear ones, this is divine discomfort. These are symptoms of actually going very fast. There's a lot of rearranging going on inside of you, which I write about in Soul Shifts. It's a symptom of spiritual velocity. That means quick shifts and changes on the inside that make us feel disconcerted and unable to recognize what's happening all the time. These are not signs that something's wrong. They're divine discomfort. Something's trying to birth and shift inside of you. How many times will I speak to audiences and I see people's faces and they go, that's what I'm experiencing. I thought I was just manic depressive. I have divine discomfort. And it's really true. How do I know? How would I even know these symptoms if I hadn't gone through them myself and hadn't worked with tens and tens and tens of thousands of people? So you can actually have my permission to say to somebody, I'm not messed up. I'm just experiencing a lot of spiritual velocity right now. That's what's going on. Because, if you've ever been in a boat that maybe it's, out in, the channel or it's on a lake and it's going nice and slow, like a little speedboat. It's going a few kilometers. I'm not good with kilometers, so excuse me. It's going slow. And you're sitting back nicely. Your hair's all nice. You're enjoying yourself. If that boat speeds up and starts going really, really, really fast, the ride changes, doesn't it? You're holding on. Things are flying all over the place. Your clothes are disheveled. Your hair's blowing. When we go fast, things are not always neat. When we start going fast inside, a lot of shifting, things on the outside will seem disorderly. I'm saying this so you can hear this and say, yes, that explains things to me. Why can't I recognize the scenery? When a boat's going slow, you can see every tree, every other boat. But if it's going really fast, or if you're in a train, for instance, when the train starts going super fast, you can't even see where you are. You can't see the signs of the villages. It's just a blur. That's what it's like many times when you're shifting quickly. How many of you can relate to this? It's comforting to just know that something is actually happening. The divine discomfort also when you're going quickly, you feel like just when you get things settled in your life, you know where I'm going, right? Just when you think you've kind of handled something, something else comes up. Just when you feel like you've managed something or you've worked through something, it comes back again in a different form. How could that be happening? You thought it finally was, quote, under control, that you're in a calm period. Who's experienced this? Again, it means that you are in the right room, that you are, I call the cosmic advance team. I'm saying these things to you from a soul level. In spite of all the noise, in spite of this wonderful metal temple that we're in, I'm speaking to you from my soul to yours. I know about these things because of my own soul journey. I am an author, and I'm a teacher, and I'm on TV and all that, but really, ultimately, I'm a mystic. A mystic is somebody who has out the inner worlds, who feels comfortable with the invisible. By the way, you know that right now, this room is actually packed, not just with you, but with many invisible ones. Just telling you in case you're interested in those kinds of things. If you're not, you can think I'm from California. Of course, I said that.
If you're interested in sharing your story, sharing your dreams, sharing your ideas in the largest personal development platform, the Best You EXPO, sign up today. Go to www.thebestyouexpo.com or send an email to info@thebestyou.co.
I'm offering you today not just information, but a vibrational transmission. I invite you to grab onto it. I invite you to let it penetrate you. I invite you to notice what shifts you or what makes you feel something, even what makes you uncomfortable. Those things are important. It means that something touched something inside of you. So whatever I'm saying is interesting, hopefully uplifting, but there's something else going on. I'm trying to bring a field, a very open vibrational field of profound shifting and transformation to you right now. So just dive into it. Stay connected with me, and you're all doing so great in spite of the atmosphere, in spite of everything. One of the reasons you're here is because you, like me, I know, has been asking what I call the sacred questions in life. What are the sacred questions? Most people ask things like, how much money can I make? You know, where can I get the best martini? You know, blah, blah, blah. Who am I? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do in this life? Why sometimes can I feel so clear, so connected, and other times as if I've forgotten everything I know? Why are so many people so cruel? Why am I feeling homesick for some place I don't even know about? But I keep thinking, this isn't how it's supposed to be. Who has had any of these sacred questions? Yes. These are the questions of old souls, of advanced souls. Those questions are not there to torture you. They're there to help you not push the snooze button, to stay awake. I grew up with these questions when I was very, very young. Very young. I didn't understand what I was doing here, where I was, why was everybody acting the way they were. It must be a mistake. I obviously came to the wrong planet. And where was the other planet where people were going to be nicer? Anyone relate to this? And why was I here? And obviously I had, been in the bathroom when they gave out the tickets and I got the last place, and that was called Earth. But that's not true. I had an appointment to be here to help be part of the Great Awakening, as you did as well. And for me, fortunately, I listened to those questions and allowed them to move me towards more consciousness, move me towards seeking, move me towards teachers, move me towards things that would allow me to keep asking, even when I didn't have answers. The questions themselves are profound when you're asking them. Just your process of sitting here is profound. when I was 18, thank goodness, I found my first spiritual teacher. I think we have a picture of me when I was 18. Do we have it? That's me, not with a mustache, the other one. I'm 18 years old, and I had seen a poster at college that said, learn to meditate. I didn't know what meditation was. These days, they're meditating in preschool. I had no idea. It was weird. No one had ever heard of it. But I saw a picture of someone, it said, learn to meditate, and my alarm clock was ringing and ringing, and I went, that's the path. Something about that is going to do something for me. And indeed, it was the beginning of something. Because I was looking for not information, but wisdom. We're going to talk in a little bit about the difference between collecting information and thinking that's spiritual growth and actual wisdom, actual transformation. Wisdom is something that shifts you. I didn't want just information. I wanted experiences that shifted me, that connected me back to something I didn't even understand at the time. And that's when I began my own journey, my own soul journey, which I've been on ever since. And you have begun yours. Maybe you began it this morning. Maybe you began it last month or 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. It is the most perfect choice you have ever made. And that if there's nothing else I can do, I want to reassure you about that choice, because it is not easy to stay awake in a world where most people are asleep, is it? It is not easy to stay awake when perhaps the people you love very much are asleep, and in fact have an investment in you staying asleep. I say this in soul shifts, everyone will not celebrate the awakening of the magnificent you, will they? Sometimes people like it when we keep them company in their unconsciousness. How many of you, as you've grown and shifted, have found that sometimes you've had to let certain people go or not spend as much time with them, and it can be very painful? Who's experienced this? And you feel guilty and you think, am I being judgmental? Maybe it's been a partner. Maybe it's a family member even. You're not being judgmental. You're in a different place of vibrational resonance, which we're going to talk about in our second half. This is one of the reasons when I began studying, I learned and took a long time, what I call investing in my own enlightenment, and didn't start teaching actually until I was in my 30s. And all of that deep inner work began to manifest. I found a picture last week. You may recognize the other people in the picture. Do we have the picture of me? And do you recognize these people? This is Deepak Chopra, me, and Wayne Dyer. This is like in 1989. Isn't this an amazing photo? Beloved Wayne, who left the body this year, Deepak. We used to tour together, and we were the first people actually teaching about transformation in public settings like this. So we would go from one city to the next and each give a little lecture to people just beginning to wake up, you see, just beginning to wake up. And somebody had taken this. I found it a few months ago after Wayne passed. Teachers prepare for students. You're preparing right now for people you don't know about. I'm not saying you're going to be a teacher or not. It's irrelevant. But there are people right now you have an appointment with. Maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe in 5 years. It could be somebody you have a conversation with. It could be somebody in a business setting. They have an appointment with you. You are preparing for those people you can't even see right now. You're not just growing for yourself, trust me. You are growing in preparation to serve in some way. And again, it doesn't matter if you serve with a business card. You can be, selling, chips. You can be, a business office manager. It doesn't matter. You are all affecting everybody all the time. That's what teachers are for. We are all teaching each other. How you are when you pass someone in the street teaches them something, doesn't it? About humanity. How you are with the driver of a cab teaches that person something about humanity. So the idea that you're just qualified, you say, well, then there's the teachers, like those people, and then there's me, I'm just a guy. No. We're all shifting everyone's attitude about everything all the time. You're either making people feel humanity is great or humanity sucks, right? So when someone interacts with you, even for 2 minutes, do they think, God, why do I even leave my house? The world is ridiculous. Or do they feel that person is what's good about life? This is your cosmic responsibility. It's all of ours. One of the reasons I wrote Soul Shifts is my 15th book. I'm very excited because Crown Publishing has a lot of them here. One of the reasons I wrote Soul Shifts was for this time we are in. And I want to explain to you about what it really means to have soul shifts for yourself. All of us have our highest self, right? You have moments when you're at your highest, you're most clear, you're most loving, you understand life, blah, blah, blah. Then all of us have our lowest, those times. And then we have everything in between. And on a given day, where we are in the scale depends on lots of different things. It's not random that you're at your highest in one moment and not at your highest in another. It's not just the day, the astrology, who you're around. There's a reason sometimes you're at your highest level, your most wonderful self, and you're not. So haven't you ever thought, how come sometimes I'm so clear and then I'm not clear? It's something you can control. There's conditions, I call them conditions for awakening. It's not that you just suddenly disconnect from feeling centered. It slowly happened because of certain things you did. And it's not that you just suddenly either feel love or feel magnanimous or feel confident. It's because of things you're doing or not doing. I call these conditions of awakening, conditions of transformation. And there's a whole technology of understanding what they are so that in a few seconds you can do things, some of the techniques I teach in Soul Shifts, and I'll teach you some in our second session, that you can shift from being very not centered to your highest, which is already there, you see, in a few minutes. If you can feel your best, your most loving, your most clear, your most wise, in one moment, it's available to you all the time. Why don't we live in it? This was something I began to ask myself when I was very, very young. Isn't that a great question? And we think, well, it just happens. It doesn't just happen. It's not accidental. You've all had soul shifts. You've had a moment of clarity. Maybe you were out in nature. Maybe you were holding your child or your dog or reading something, or you were in church, and suddenly you're overcome with a feeling of knowingness, right, of rightness. And then it goes away. And we think, well, it just happened. I have to kind of wait. Maybe I'll have a high moment again. Maybe I'll have a moment like that if I take a walk. You can create those moments in a few minutes yourself. This is what it means to really have a soul shift. So my secret weapon, whenever I'm speaking at success seminars or seminars where they're wanting to, people are there and most of the other speakers are how to make a lot of money in a weekend or something like that, or write a book in 2 days, or all those kind of marketing seminars. You may have been to some. I always say the same thing, my secret weapon for success, and I've been amazingly successful in my life, is one thing. And it goes back to everything I've been saying, and that's consciousness. Consciousness. What does consciousness means? It means fully accessing everything that you have inside of you. So that it's not that that sometimes you can figure things out, but it seems like it's way far away, or you can feel and understand things, but you're cut off right now. Consciousness, which is like the control room for everything else in your life. Consciousness. And that means seeing everything that you need to see about yourself. Most of us see life through just a sliver of consciousness. We don't have our ability to see ourselves clearly, or to see other people clear, or to see a situation clearly. I always say we see things through the eyes of our issues. We see people through the eyes of our issues. We interpret what's happening through the eyes of our issues. What does that mean? You felt abandoned or rejected as a child. Somebody that forgets to call you, you go, oh, I knew it. I'm not good enough. They're rejecting me. It's not even real. You're in a hallucination. It's an issue that we have. So I have a saying, what you see, you can shift. We are skipping some slides. You're right, Peckley. Oh, yeah, that's. Well, go back to that for 1 second because it's so cute. One of the soul shifts. Go back to the. Yeah, that's soul shifts is very. A lot of you who have the book know it is very vibrationally powerful. It's hard to explain why, but it's not a normal book. It does something to you. People, tens and tens of thousands of people writing me letters, hundreds and hundreds of reviews on Amazon saying that. I don't know what it is, but it is very powerful. And I started realizing that when animals, people started sending me animal pictures of their animals sleeping on the book, putting their arms around it. So this is Elmo, who's Scottish, and the book was there, and he kind of curled up around it. Isn't that adorable? He's obviously, his cosmic alarm clock has not gone off right there yet. Somebody else, where's the cat? Somebody said, she said her cat doesn't like this room, but it's her study, and the cat comes in and lies down all over the book. I put those in just for cute factors. That's why they're there. So what you see, you can shift in life. If I could offer you a shift in your understanding right now about how to live each day so that you're growing with the most velocity, it would be to shift from saying, I want to grow, to saying, I want to see. Think about the difference. See, when we say, I want to grow, another part says, yes, but I really don't want to look at the things that I shouldn't look at in my life. And yeah, I'd like to grow. I'd like to be more confident. I'd like to be more successful. I'd like to have more charisma. I'd like to be more loving. I'd like to feel less attached to things. But I don't really want to look at things about myself that I'm not going to like. So now you have an inner war. Two parts of you. I want to grow. I want to be a conscious, wonderful human being. But I don't want to be uncomfortable. And I don't want to see things that make me uncomfortable. This is called an inner collision. Some of you have been moving more slowly in your life and your career than you want because you have 1 foot on the accelerator and 1 foot on the brake. Anyone relate to this? I want to be successful, but I don't want to take risks. Well, your car is stalled. I want to grow and open up and get rid of my past, but I don't want to feel anything uncomfortable. So we get stuck. We just are like an inner traffic jam. To say instead, I want to see. Wow, that's powerful. I want to see. I want to see everything that there is to see. Is a very powerful thing. What you see, you can shift. A few months ago, I was driving to a retreat. I give a lot of seminars and retreats in the U.S. I'm going to be giving one, I think, next year in the U.K. So you'll all find out about it if you're on my mailing list. Very powerful experiential retreats, nothing like this. And I was driving on a road that was unfamiliar to me. It was up in the mountains in Northern California. And it was totally fogged in. You know about fog here, right? It was just fog. This isn't a real picture, but this is what it looked like. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know how far I was from wherever I was going. I couldn't see any signs. When you're driving in the fog, you get this kind of primal fear, because you could hit a car. You don't know if you're going off the side of the road. And when you're in the fog, what happens? You go very, very slowly. And I eventually got to my destination. A few months later, I went back to the same retreat center to give another retreat. This time it was a gorgeous sunny day in California. This is not where it was, but it looked like this. And I was driving along and I had music playing and I was enjoying myself. And it suddenly dawned on me that this was the same road, that the last time I was on it, it had been totally fogged in. that I had not enjoyed the drive, that I hadn't seen anything, that I had wanted to just get off the road. I wished I could have just found a motel and stayed there. And here I was, because I could see, in a very different state. Now you see where I'm going with this? This is our journey in life. When you are in consciousness fog, because of our patterns, because of our issues, because of our habits, because of our habit of turning off, shutting off, numbing out, we're on a foggy road. We can't see where we should turn off or not. We doubt all of our decisions. Maybe we can't even see something amazing waiting for us because it's foggy. And we can't enjoy ourselves. When we're in the fog, there's an inner tension, isn't there? This explains how a lot of us are living all the time. That's why I say, pray to see, ask to see. Don't ask to grow. Say, I want to see. I want the fog to go. I want things to be illuminated so that I can see where I am going. And when you do that, it looks like this. It feels like this. This is just a shift I can offer you. As you notice how many times you're thinking, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to face that. I don't want to clean that up. I'm going to put that off. You're basically saying, I would like to be stuck. I would like to not grow. And if you just ask for light, something amazing will happen. There's a technique in soul shifts near the back called more light, which is a really fantastic technique about holding an issue in your consciousness in a certain way and asking for light. Something amazing happens when you do it. Every great religion, all the great mystics have always written about in sacred literature light, calling on light, asking for light. We think, when we read about these things, whether it's in the Bible or in some kind of text, that they meant like light was going to shine down from heaven. But light really means illumination, doesn't it? Light. We grow from light. We see something. We get something. We suddenly realize we love someone. We suddenly realize we're not treating ourselves well. We suddenly realize we have an issue. That means light has illuminated that tableau for us. So just having the thought even, and I do talk about it a lot and explain how, but even if you just go away and think, more light. I have an issue right now with my son. I have an issue with my boss. I'm asking for more light. What a profound thing begins to happen. The same thing, of course, with yourself. This is why I say one of the most powerful things that I've been teaching for the last few years is what I call the Soul Shifts mantra that I talk about in Soul Shifts. Those of you who've read it, you know it really well. It is the key to awakening in each moment. Today, I'm going to see what there is to see, to feel what there is to feel, and to know what there is to know. Just explain it. How many things do you think about? Today I should do this and this and this. Today I'm going to see what there is to see. How do we usually think? Today I'm not going to see anything that upsets me. I'm going to only see things my way. I'm going to see whatever there is to see. To feel what there is to feel. What do we usually say? I don't want to feel anything that makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to feel anything that's going to challenge or make me have to make choices. I'm feeling something, I'm just going to have a few glasses of wine, I don't really need to feel it. Today I'm going to feel whatever there is to feel. Why? Because feelings are maps, they're guiding you somewhere. And to know what there is to know, because when you see things and you feel enough, knowingness will happen. Wisdom occurs. This Soul Shifts mantra is so powerful. I've received tens of thousands of letters and emails and posts about it. It will shift, and you can do it when you're faced with a situation. I talk about how to do that in more detail. Let's say you're having a difficult meeting with some people coming up, or you have to make some decisions, or you're going into some kind of business situation, or you're having to sit and talk to somebody. So then you change it. You say, right now, in the next half hour, I'm going to see what there is to see. I'm going to feel what there is to feel. I'm going to know what there is to know. Instead of saying, I'm going to go in, I'm going to make sure to do this and that. See what there is to see, and you will know what to do. Feel what there is to feel, and you'll be able to shape-shift in each moment instead of being rigid. And know what there is to know. It is a profound gift. This came to me in a meditation, and it's an amazing gateway. I call it a soul shift gateway. Very, very powerful. I want to read you something from Soul Shifts right now. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's about having the courage to see and keep seeing in your life, knowing if you do, it will lead you to amazing freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from limitation, freedom from forgetfulness, freedom from being disconnected from yourself. So listen to this. It says, all spiritual and emotional growth is getting yourself to the place where you are clear enough and courageous enough to see what has become intolerable to you. Isn't that interesting? And to tolerate what you're seeing long enough to change it. To see what's intolerable to you, either in yourself or someone else, and to be courageous enough to tolerate seeing it enough to change it. It's about getting your awareness to first open, then to stay open for long enough so you can see everything there is to see, and then to stare at what you see, and to not look away and not distract yourself and not cover your eyes, but to gaze bravely at what you see, even if you are shocked by what you see, especially if you're shocked by what you see, until you feel your soul rise up and proclaim, it is intolerable for me to live this way anymore. This is the beginning of awakening. Isn't this beautiful? I'm saying it because it comes through. To see what is not in alignment with your highest, with no judgment, with no negativity, to just say, I am bigger and better than this way of thinking, being, feeling, etc. This is what I call transformation from the inside out. All transformation has to start from within. Personal growth is not about collecting a bunch of information or positive thoughts. We'll talk more about this afterwards. Positive thinking is great, but it has to be matched by positive vibrating. Otherwise, you're just putting spiritual wrapping paper on a bunch of junk inside of yourself, right? So positive vibrating so that there's alignment, which we'll talk about. Transformation from the inside out. It means shifting from what I call managing your life to mastering it. Shifting from management to mastery. What does management mean? How many of you are control freaks? That's a trick question because control freaks do not raise their hands when they're asked that question. I'm not going to raise my hand and go, what she said. Who does she think I am? Most of us think of mastery and success as successfully managing everything. Managing ourselves, managing other people, managing what happens to us. Management is different from mastery. You see, when we pride ourselves on managing everything, we're priding ourselves on being the warden of a well-run prison. Think about it. You know, I got the prisoners under control. My negative thoughts, my this, my fears, it's like bang, I controlled it, I contained it, I fixed it, everyone's behaving. We're talking about yourself, of course. That's prison. That's not freedom. Management means you're scrambling all the time to fix something, to handle it. I call it emotional whack-a-mole. Do they have those little games here where like a little thing comes up and you hit it with a mallet like at a carnival or something? And then another one comes up. There's a movie, American movie, Caddyshack, which was about that, where the moles would come up with Bill Murray. Most of us think of mastering our life as playing emotional whack-a-mole. When something goes up, we're going to smash it. We're going to handle it. Something else is going to pop up. We're going to handle it. The problem is they're going to keep popping up. Mastery is different. Mastery means connecting to your own source. Mastery means being able to see what's causing things to happen, not constantly band-aiding your life all the time. This is how a lot of us and a lot of you may experience that you feel, you're constantly tired and stressed. So many times when I work with people, they'll say, I realize I was exhausted from trying to manage and control everything and everybody, including every thought I had and every feeling I had. This is not freedom. It's not transformation. It's control. So just have that thought and say, wow, I need to think about that. What would it look like for me to be mastering my relationship to life instead of trying to manage everything? So this is one of the first shifts that I talk about. And it means that transformation is an experiential event. It's not controlling everything beautifully. It means experientially shifting, getting your revelations out of your notebook and into your heart. Getting your understanding out of an idea that you heard someone say and actually choosing to live it, choosing to practice it. This is why the subtitle of Soul Shifts that I fought them for says practical spirituality. We're going to talk about this in our second session after the little break. Practical. What does practical spirituality mean? How do we live it? It's essential to understand this. Otherwise, you're going to get mad at yourself when you think you fall from some state of being spiritual or perfect. Go, oh my God, I had negative thoughts. Obviously, I'm blowing it. No, you're not. They're coming from somewhere. Something's happening. Something's trying to get your attention. Just these understandings can shift you tremendously. So that's the difference between becoming an expert on your issues and actually getting rid of your issues. You see the difference? I mean, people all the time say, oh yes, I've been, I did this course and I did that and I took 20 months of learning about this. I was in therapy for 10 years. I also took this method and this. And so I can tell you all of my issues. This happened to me because of this, my father this, my mother this. I made these decisions. Not that these things are incorrect, but that's not transformation. That's a collection of information. Transformation is dismantling the issues energetically so that they're not there anymore. They don't exist. It's not only possible, it's not that difficult. But we think, well, the more I know about myself, the more I collect, the more free I will be. And many times, I just had a call on my radio show last week, somebody saying, I'm really depressed because I've done this, I've gone here, I've learned this, I read this book, I do these affirmations, and I still got really upset with my husband today. So obviously I'm a complete spiritual failure. And I said, no, you're not. I said, there's something happening to pay attention to. But her idea was, if I am growing, if I am a conscious human being, I will never feel, and then she had a list of things. This is what I call spiritual kindergarten understandings. There's nothing wrong with them, but those understandings won't serve you as you continue to grow. I'm a very tell it like it is teacher. And as expansive as I can be, it has to be grounded and practical. Otherwise, you actually end up feeling worse about yourself. Have you ever looked at somebody who is totally not into any of this at all and had a secret thought that maybe they were happier than you were? Have you ever had that thought? Maybe it's your sister-in-law or a friend who does nothing, completely unconscious. Her idea of spiritual growth is, 3-4 drinks. That's it. Expansion means expanding her drinking or whatever it is. And you're thinking, and she says, you go to all these things and you read and you want to that. You don't seem, in fact, you seem worse. You seem more concerned about yourself. And you think, oh my God, is she right? The more I'm seeing, the more what? I realize I have to grow. Before I was even into any of this, I thought I was okay. Now I'm learning things and I realize I got to work on this. I have to work on this. I have this issue, right? You should see your faces. Why am I saying this? Because it's true. But it needs a different kind of understanding. So transformation means taking the issues apart. And when I say mastery, there's 3 kinds of mastery, and I'll talk about this after the break too. Not just, people think I want to be masterful, but I've broken it down. There's mastery in action, which means that you can see what you need to do and actually do it and get your own issues out of the way. Then there's mastery of heart, See, there's a lot of people who are really good. They can go out, bang, 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 make money, do this, goals, goals, goals every day, but you can't even feel them. Mastery has to be holistic. Mastery of heart, your ability to know what you're feeling in the moment, to feel it, to be able to see what's underneath it, to not get kidnapped by it, to let it take you somewhere. And mastery of consciousness, that you are what I call like on the mountaintop of consciousness. So instead of looking at your life from right down here where everything seems overwhelming, you have a way to get up as if you were sitting on the top of a big hill. And from that big hill, like a general looking down, you can see all the things happening to you and in you, but from a bigger vantage point, you see? Mastery of action, heart, and consciousness. You can see how that's a lot more holistic. And you can also say, well, God, you know what? It's true. I think I have good mastery of heart, but my mastery of action isn't so good. Or I think I have good mastery of action. I've done well, but my consciousness, I just get very... So it gives you a different way to understand everything. The second shift that I want to introduce you to, and we'll go more into these in a little bit, is a shift from what I call packaging yourself and performing to presence. A lot of us feel to succeed, we need to look a certain way, be a certain way, present ourselves a certain way, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in business, whether it's in your career. Many of us try to master how we come off to people, how we're packaged, or we're performing all the time. How many of you always feel you have to perform for love or perform for approval? It's such a deep addiction. The shift that I invite people to think about is a shift into presence. What is presence? Presence is hopefully what you're feeling from me right now. Presence is what's beyond your words. We're going to talk about this. Presence is your vibrational energy that you bring to things. Presence is what makes it when you meet somebody in 3 seconds, like them or don't like them, right? They haven't said anything yet. You go, I connect to you, I don't connect to you. You're feeling their presence, as we would say in the 60s, their vibes. You're actually feeling their consciousness, no matter what their words say. You can think of the people you feel really drawn to in your life, or who you really admire in the public eye. It's not just that they're good at something. You can feel their presence, can't you? Presence. Do only certain people have it? Of course not. All of us equally are manifestations of the same cosmic energy, of the same spirit. We'll talk about it, but we've disconnected some wires, so we're not tuned in, we're not hooked in to our highest. Your presence is one of the great treasures for you to learn how to connect back with again. So then people see you, they feel you. They don't just hear you. This is the biggest thing that I teach when I teach my successful speaking courses. I'm laughing because people will come to me because I'm very known for being a speaker, etc. And they'll come and they go, okay, so how many jokes should I tell, and how do I stand, and what do I do? And never show somebody your microphone when you start. And it's presence. I never even ask anyone who they are, what they do. It's your presence. Who has presence? Babies have presence, don't they? Puppies have presence. Kittens have presence. We're attracted to presence because it is the closest to our pure spirit coming through. To see and feel and know more, as I'm talking about, will start to allow your presence to come through. So when people look at you, they feel your vibration. It doesn't matter if you open your mouth. I always say we're always communicating whether our mouth is open or not. Isn't that true? Because someone doesn't have to say a word. You go, what's wrong? Nothing. I didn't say a thing. You don't have to say anything. Women understand this, particularly. This is what I call vibrational credibility. This is a phrase I came up with. Vibrational credibility. That who you are on the outside, who you're saying you are, is matched by how you're vibrating. We're going to talk about vibration after our little break. Vibrating on the inside. That what you see is what you get. That if you're there smiling and looking happy, you're not inside wanting to kill someone. That if you're there trying to say you're very relaxed, you're not as tight as an explosive bomb. That if you're there trying to sell yourself or get a client or get a contract or give an idea in a meeting, and you're trying to sound all confident, that inside you don't feel like a 2-year-old who wants to run out of the room. Vibrational credibility. People love coherence. This is a great thing I teach to CEOs. They want coherence. You want it. People just feel comfortable with coherence. And lack of coherence creeps us out, doesn't it? Have you ever met anybody? And, you've heard about them or whatever. And it could be somebody well-known. It could be that you meet somebody who has a reputation of a sort, and something about them is just bugging you. It's because they don't have vibrational credibility. It doesn't matter what they've done or what they've written. It's how they feel. Vibrational credibility is a really great goal to have for yourself and say, wow, what an amazing thing. When we don't have vibrational credibility, we become what I call wobbly. Wobbly. Like wobbly. Wobbly. Where we're not just solid. We feel kind of energetically wobbly to people. When you feel wobbly, you go, I'm going in to do this, but I'm feeling a little off. That's wobbly. That means like an unbalanced table at a restaurant when they seat you and it's very disconcerting to eat on it. You want them to put something under one of the legs. We don't like things that are wobbly. We also don't trust things that are wobbly. If you had a beautiful vase from your grandmother or a special item and there was a wobbly table, you wouldn't want to put it on there. So think about it. Ask yourself, am I a wobbly table? Do people, business associates, loved ones, the universe, God, want to put things on me or not? How do I become unwobbly so that all of me is balanced, you see? So a great question to ask yourself, you can write it down, is where am I wobbly? It's in Soul Shifts if you have it, you don't have to write it. Where am I wobbly? Well, I'm pretty good here, but I'm really wobbly with my finances, or I'm really wobbly with being honest with this person. I'm clear here, I'm not clear here. We do it, again, with no judgment, with assessment. We see what there is to see about it. And how do we become wobbly? There's a long discussion about this I don't have time for. We negotiate with ourselves and tell ourselves certain things don't count. It's okay for me to be this way, but with this person I don't have to be. Well, I'm honest about this, but I really don't have to look at this. Many of us have lots of secret inner negotiations that we go through all the time with ourselves to allow ourselves to be less than who we can be. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We compensate. We say, well, it's okay because yesterday, or, well, I came to the Best You EXPO. I was really conscious for 2 days, so it's okay to go home and be unconscious for 3 more days because I did my conscious, see? I was really good for 2 days, so now I can not be good. This is how we negotiate with ourselves. So I have a great question also to ask yourself. What do I tell myself doesn't count? What do I tell myself doesn't count? Doesn't count that I'm honest in this situation. It doesn't count that I'm experiencing this somewhere else. What do I tell myself doesn't count? And here's the thing. Remember we're talking about presence? Your presence is the culmination of every choice you make your entire life, in every moment. You can't do presence at the last minute. You see? Somebody suddenly says, if you're single, who's single in here right now? Look around. Lots of other people. So if you're going, okay, I want to meet somebody, I would love to fall in love. You can't get it together at the last minute. Do you know what I'm talking about? You suddenly meet somebody and you go, I finally met someone I think I can be compatible with, who might be my soulmate. Let me start cleaning up my stuff. I have 24 hours to do it. Because you're not going to meet someone and say, oh my gosh, I really like you. Give me 6 months because I have a lot of issues with my ex. I have a lot of anger issues. I'm not good with intimacy. I have a lot of self-loathing. But if you come back in 6 months, I'll work on it now that I know you exist. They're not going to be waiting around. You have to be prepared, Same thing with work. Same thing with an opportunity. I always say prepare for greatness. Teachers, And I tell my students this all the time. I help prepare my students for greatness, for love. Where is it? I'm not sure, but it's coming. And if you're prepared, guess what? It will show up. Sometimes we think, I'm waiting for a sign. Let me tell you something. The universe is waiting for a sign from you. We think, if I just got a sign that I could be ready for love, if I just got a sign that, I could have a new opportunity or start a new business, then I would get it together. Reversed. It's reversed. Prepare. Prepare as if it's coming. Prepare for greatness. Prepare for love. Prepare for intimacy. Prepare for responsibility. I was preparing when I was 18 and going deep inside. I had no idea what I'd end up doing in my life. I had no vision of any of it, but I knew I had to be ready when things happen. So some of you have been waiting. How many of you can relate to this? Waiting, I'll get it together when. This is when, right? This is it. Somewhere, if you're single, for instance, somebody's sitting around going, well, I know I should leave my girlfriend, but, maybe I will never find anybody. You need to prepare so that guy will suddenly go, whoa, I think this is the time, and his cosmic alarm clock goes off. We must prepare. Instead of thinking some magical sign's going to come and tell us when. This is when. That's what I said, now more than ever. Because there's nothing missing in you. There is nothing missing. There is nothing missing in you. You can say to yourself, there's nothing missing in me. We've just disconnected a lot of our circuits. That's all. We are all, I say, you're wired for greatness. You are wired for maximum consciousness. You're wired for enlightenment. All spiritual teachings say this, all religions, you're wired for it. It's your destiny. It's not like you missed out when you came into this body, into this earth, and other people have more wiring for power than you. It's not true. It's not true. It's just that we disconnect. Why? Many of us disconnected in childhood to not feel pain. Many of us unplugged a lot of our ability to feel in order to survive certain things or to cope with certain things. Many of us unplug so we don't have to experience so much. I teach people how to plug back in. Because when you plug back in, you get your circuits fully on fire. All of you. I could show you so many people who I've worked with who thought, I'm shy, I'm not into this, I have a hard time speaking. It's propaganda. Yes, it's true when you're unplugged. It's like those houses. Do people do big Christmas displays here in the UK? Like the lights and everything. In the States, it's this huge thing. People spend like so much money, and they spend 5 months decorating houses sometimes. It's ridiculous. But when you want to drive around and see lights, do you go to the house with one little twinkly Santa nose? Or do you go to the house that has all the lights and everything up, right? Lots of light. We're attracted to light. You are a being of light. We need to learn how to plug back in. The great writer and mystic Carlos Castaneda said, we either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong, but the amount of work is the same. Isn't that interesting? What does that mean? We either make ourselves miserable or strong, but that power is the same. You have a relationship with the life force, each of you. You have a relationship with all the voltage that comes in. Is your relationship one where you use some of it because you don't want to feel too much? You only use it on certain occasions? You used to have more, you unplugged after your divorce, you see? Your relationship with energy, with your own life force is really important to start understanding. Have I been unplugging? How does it feel? Do I feel as juiced up as I could be? I call this a dry peach. I remember years ago, I really like peaches. And one summer I got a peach and it looked fantastic on the outside. And I bit into it and it was dry. Have you ever had that? Like mealy and dry. And I was like, this is so disappointing. And I flashed in that moment, this is what I do as a teacher, that that's how we experience life sometimes. People feel us like that. We look fine, we're saying this, our website, and then they bite into us and we're a dry peach, right? How many of you ever had a relationship with a dry peach? Any of you had this? Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Or somebody seems really good, they're going to do this, maybe you hire somebody, they're a dry peach, right? They don't have the juice. Your juice is what attracts people to you. So we have to say, how have I dried out? How have I disconnected myself? You are wired for greatness. People go for the biggest light, the energy. They want to see you lit up. It's there inside of you. You are not missing anything. I don't care what you've done. You haven't extinguished that light. You're learning how to plug back in again. I want to teach you a few soul shift mastery practices. The way they structured this was that we had a break. So I have a lot of things to do. I actually saved the best things for afterwards. So hopefully you will all be able to come back and get all kinds of goodies. But let me just share a few practical things with you first. These are some things that you can do based on everything I've already talked about just now, that actually you can make happen for yourself. The first is to start looking at life and understanding it more as vibrational and knowing that everything affects you energetically and you affect everything. I'm going to explain this after our break. Shift from thinking this is good for me or bad for me is asking, what does this do to me vibrationally? Does this make me more expanded? Does it make me more tight? Does it make me more open? Does it hook me in more to myself? Does it disconnect me? If you stop judging things as good or bad, you'll start to see experiences, relationships, everything, and saying, how is this affecting me vibrationally? How is it affecting my consciousness? This will help you make much better choices, and you get to think about, which I'll explain more, who contracts you, who expands you. Right now, you could think of a lot of people that think, the minute you think of them, you clench up, right? Other people, you feel expanded. Everything in life either is expanding you into more of you, or it's disconnecting you. So learning about that makes a big difference to cultivate expansion and eliminate contraction. And I'm just giving you a very superficial idea what it is. The second thing, I'm going to teach you a really quick technique right now, which I'm going to go more into later. And this is so powerful. I'd love if you read more about it. Whenever you're feeling disconnected, upset, not yourself, confused about something, off center, which is 100 times a day, instead of saying, I don't feel good, you ask yourself two questions. Number one, what choice am I making right now? This is really powerful shifter. Okay? Your husband was in a grumpy mood and, you're not happy. And you're storming around inside of yourself, feeling sorry for yourself. What choice am I making? Not what is someone doing to me right now. See the difference? What choice am I making right now? I'm choosing to blame someone. I'm choosing to make somebody else's mood my day. When you say, what choice am I making right now? You have made a soul shift into your highest right away. You see the difference? Instead of what's happening to me, what's happening in me. This is where mastery begins. It will blow your mind if you try this. And the second question is, what is the highest choice I can make? Is there a higher choice I can make right now? What's the highest choice I can make in this moment? And your first answer is going to be, I don't want to make the highest choice in this moment. I just want to tell the person he's a jerk. What's the highest choice I can make in this moment? I can choose to take some space from this. I can choose to have compassion. Just the question has done what? It's a trick question. When you say the highest, where is it taking you? To your highest. These two questions alone can change your life. They're soul shifters. I'm not able to tell you more about them in the little short time we have in these last few minutes.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibiting, or getting involved in the largest personal development expos in the world, contact us today at www.thebestyouexpo.com or send us an email to info@thebestyou.co.
The next shift is to shift from measuring everything to understanding meaning in life. Meaning. Shift from measurement to meaning. Most of us define ourselves by how much money we're making, how much we do on our to-do list, how many goals we achieve. And at the end of each day, when you say, was it a good day? We think, oh, didn't do that, didn't call that person, didn't make that sale, didn't stick to my diet, it wasn't a good day. This is not the way to evaluate life. That's measurement. When you think about it, you're not actually seeing how you're doing, you're measuring yourself all the time, aren't you? Against yourself, against what someone else thinks of you, against what they did. What does meaning, evaluating yourself with meaning means? It means shifting to understanding what I call soul accomplishments. You're here to learn, to grow. Your soul accomplishments means how have you shifted, opened today instead of blaming myself. I had compassion for how hard I've been working and how much I've been going through. Instead of judging that person, I took a moment to actually reach out and realize they were just scared of me. What's a soul accomplishment? At the end of your life, only your soul accomplishments are going to matter. None of the others will actually mean anything in the same way. So start asking yourself, what are my soul accomplishments today? Guess what? You have a big one today. You came here. You listened. You've been thinking about things. You've been feeling things. Today, I had some introspection about myself. I made a soul accomplishment. This is a big thing. Next is to shift from negotiating your consciousness all the time. This is something we do unconsciously. Do you know that every day you make an invisible choice? Am I going to be conscious today or not? Am I going to be at my highest or not? We make this choice 20, 30 times a day. Am I going to be who I know I can be? Am I not? Am I going to be open? Am I not? Am I going to indulge? Am I going to not? And becoming aware of that choice is so important. That's why I say stop negotiating consciousness. Every day, 220,000 people die. They leave the planet. 220,000 people did not wake up today. Many of you know you've lost somebody you love in the last year or 2 years. They're not here. You are. How many days do we have left? 5,000, 6,000 of our own life. You have to ask yourself, if you had a big calendar of all the days, which days are expendable? Which days is it okay for you to not be at your highest? Which days say, I don't need that day, you know? That can be a crummy day. That can be a day when I'm just indulging and being the worst. That can be a day when I choose to be unconscious. If someone said, you know, I would like 50 of your days, just you live them horribly and I'll take them, you wouldn't do it. And yet that's what we do all the time. We choose days unconsciously. And we go unconscious and they don't turn out well. And then we regret them. I don't know about you, but I don't have any days to waste. I don't have any days to compromise. That's what I mean about negotiating your consciousness. Don't negotiate away the precious days you have. Insist on clarity from yourself. I don't know what's going on. Yes, you do. If you take some time to look, you will figure it out. You know how smart you can be for other people, right? So we don't insist on clarity for yourself. This is the beginning of understanding how to create mastery for ourselves in our life. And to understand that in each moment you are making choices. You have the spiritual power of choice. It is the greatest spiritual practice. You chose to be here. You're choosing to listen or not listen. You're choosing to take in what I'm doing or text. You're choosing to go out and think about it or not. You're choosing to come back and get all the great things I have to offer you or not. Every choice we make determines things in our life. Then you ask yourself, what's informing my choice? You see? Which part of me is making my choice? Is it my wise, inner teacher, master, guru that's saying, yes, let's keep learning? Or is it some other part of me? Who's controlling my life? Who's controlling my choices? Which side do I want to take in my own battle between light and darkness in each moment? That's what it means to live in awakening moment by moment by moment in each day. I have tons of other stuff to share with you. I was going to do a meditation right now, but I'm going to save it because they promised that you have to have a break. It's essential. So I'm going to give you that. I just wanted to say a few quick things first. We'll talk about this later as well, and I really do hope you come back. We're going to also do questions, answers. We're going to talk about practical spirituality, etc. In your gift bags, I always like to give people presents, and especially in honor of my birthday, I always do as well. So in your gift bag, you should have something like this from me. Please look at it. It is a ton of fantastic free stuff. It's a free chapter of my book. It's free audios. It's a free lecture. It's a free seminar. You don't have to, there's no catch. You just have to give us your email. You can go online and follow the little link, and you'll be able to download it instantly when you get home. Or you can give one of them to one of my assistants, and we will make sure to send you everything. And also in your gift bag, oh, did they not get them? They didn't? What happened? Really? Okay, well, you're getting them from me now. But they're very valuable. You'll love everything on here. And they didn't get one of these either, the cards? No? We don't know. But somehow, either right now or in a bag, you're going to get, I made you all a special new business card. It says, are you ready? Today, I am going to live as the most awakened, enlightened human being I can be. Isn't this the best affirmation ever? Today, I am going to live as the most awakened, enlightened human being I can be. This is a reminder to be in your highest. You put it up in your mirror, on your computer, you start to drift, and you'll go, uh-oh, I am not being the most awakened, enlightened being I can. These are just some little gifts for you. When we come back, we're going to go a little deeper, and I'm going to have a lot more time to offer you some things that you can use immediately to shift. We're going to do some things together and also take some time to interact with all of you. So I'm not going to do my big official ending until we come back because it's very emotional and fantastic. But have a wonderful break. Thank you for keeping your appointment with me. I'll see you very soon. Hello, welcome back, everybody. You can keep eating. This whole thing is breaking my boundaries, so it's fine. Somebody was just here. Where's the person who just saw me in Pasadena? Where are you? Yeah. She came to Pasadena, California to a big Hay House event. I probably was speaking to 3,000 people. And there was a line for like 5 hours to get an autograph and all that. And she said, this is so different. I said, but it's intimate. I can see everybody. How many of you heard something in our first part where just some perspective inside of you shifted? Something just adjusted? How many of you heard things that allowed you to feel something let go a little bit, relaxed, got less tense? It felt like, okay, I understand this. One of the most important things that I can invite you to do that I've done my whole life, that I do with all of my students, whether it's things online, whether it's all of my telephone seminars I give to people all over the world, the book, etc., is to articulate the invisible. To articulate the invisible. Everything inside of you that no one else can see is invisible. In fact, when even we say, you, who are you? You are invisible, aren't you? There's your body, there's what you do, there's where you live, But the you that you feel is you is invisible to others, isn't it? That means your experience of life is also invisible. Whether you're feeling joyful with it or not, whether you're feeling happy or lonely, whether you feel you understand or you feel like a stranger in a strange land, all of those things are invisible. So if you really think about it, your existence, your real existence that you identify with as you, is not the things you do or where you go or where you're situated. It's the thing that doesn't change when you do that. I just flew the other night from Los Angeles to London, and it was an amazing experience. I woke up really early in the morning in Santa Barbara, where I live, north of LA. And the sun was out, I was looking at the ocean, and it was beautiful and warm. And I stood there thinking, the next time I'm standing on solid ground, once I get through the airport, I'm going to be in London, England. It was just mind-blowing to me. It's, I grew up watching, did you ever have a cartoon that was from America called The Jetsons? Did they have that here? The Jetsons, it was kind of like the Flintstones. It was about this kind of space-age family, but we're living it now. They had wristwatches that had pictures, and you could talk to people like an iPhone, And I remember thinking about rocket ships, and that's really what a plane is. And when I got to London, it was the middle of the day, and I walked outside, and we started walking around the streets, and I remembered that moment. And just then, the sun was setting right across Hyde Park where I was walking. And I thought, I saw that sun rise, that same sun from a different place. Now it's setting here. I'm telling the story because I had just traveled thousands and thousands of miles. Everything looked different. It sounded different. It felt different. But I was the same. You see, the I that is me is invisible. The I that is me traveled in time and space, but didn't change. So articulating your own you-ness, your own feelings that are many times we become invisible to ourselves, don't we? How are we actually feeling? I'm not sure. Or we make it superficial. Good, bad. Lousy day, good day. Okay, not so good. These things mean absolutely nothing. Within okay are about 1,000 feelings you're having, right? There's things that are good, there's things that are not good. There's an interaction that was great with someone, there's another interaction that's disturbing you. Lumping them all together disconnects you from yourself. So one of the things that I try to do is, and I'm happy so many of you said you were already feeling things shifting, is to help you begin to articulate the invisible and not become lazy with knowing your own self. That's why I said insist on clarity. So if you're saying, I don't know, I'm just irritated this morning. You're not just irritated this morning. Something happened yesterday. You didn't say something you should have to somebody. You didn't stick up for yourself. Now you're feeling bad. Then you're angry, and it reminds you of your mother. And a million things have happened for you to say, I'm just not feeling good this morning. So knowing yourself, just taking the consciousness to know yourself, to just go deeper in yourself, will create such empowerment and connect you to who you are. When you become visible to yourself, when you know you, and not just your patterns, but you really know you, and you feel free to be all of that, it's going to make a huge difference. You will also have tremendous connection with other people. One wonderful gentleman I just met said to me, I've been studying public speaking, and he started listing all the things that he did. He said, and you're talking about presence. And it's not about public speaking. How many of you, by the way, ever speak during the day to anyone at all for any reason? So you're a public speaker, you see? You talk to your kids, you talk to your wife, When you connect with people with words, what does it do? It connects your invisible, right, with their invisible. Otherwise, I'm standing here looking at this wonderful guy. I know nothing. But when I take my invisible world and I package it in words, and I'm in that package, not just the words, and I offer it, It's a vibrational connection that he has to me. He's not just hearing the words, he's actually feeling me energetically, just like hopefully you're feeling me. If I was a different person and hadn't done the work I've done, and I had, a script and I read the things I've said to you,